Welcome into those of you watching the CBS on SEC on CBS. Alabama national champs. This is academic here. I mean, up 21-9. They score a touchdown on their first 3 possessions, but then they go punt, 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 and so you know Nick Saban loves to start for Alabama. Yeah. But rest of the half, you're kind of like, okay, this is not who we are. This is what I reminded you of the message after the week against Mercer, the win against Mercer, that we got to clean things up. We got to be better. Yeah, and when you look at the adjustments that we're seeing from Florida's defense, they're just trying to eliminate the splash plays. Alabama's offensively has been known to be a big-time playmaking offense. If you can eliminate the splash plays and make them go the length of the football field, then you might have success, and that's what we're seeing from Florida's defense, especially in the second quarter. They were able to buckle down, play with good eyes in the secondary and force the Bama Crimson Tide to go the length of the football field, and they've been successful. So me personally, I thought this thing would definitely get out of hand in the first quarter, looking at how well Alabama's offense was clicking and scoring points. But we saw some adjustments coming from UF defense, and I really like what I'm seeing so far. The SEC on CBS Game of the Week is back in a big way in a rematch of last year's SEC championship game. Here's a look back at what went down in the first half in the Swamp. First time this meeting has happened in Gainesville since 2011. Last time Florida beat Alabama in the Swamp was 2006. Bryce Young, 7 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Dan Mullen looking for his first win against Nick Saban, 0-10 all-time, but 5-5 against the spread, including last season's SEC title game. Opening drive, Bryce Young to Jace McClellan. Touchdown for the other running back for the Tide, B-Mac. The other running back coming in and taking advantage of the opportunity. Nice play by Mr. McClellan. Alabama 42 straight wins when scoring a touchdown on their first possession. Next Tide possession, wide open. Where's the defense? Jaleel Billingsley there, the tight end, staying inbounds. He's out of the doghouse. A talented player, showed up big time for the Crimson Tide right there. Alabama 14-3. Gators looking to answer. Emory Jones hit as he throws, intercepted by Jalen Armour-Davis. Yeah, the pressure had a lot to do with that pass not being on point. When you look at Emory Jones, that was the one big issue for him going into this ball game, playing smart football. Alabama with its 6th forced turnover of the season. Jones with his 5th interception of the year. Then Young to Brian Robinson. He's in, makes a man miss. Well, the feature guy, the feature running back, Mr. Robinson neighborhood, big-time playmaker for Crimson Tide. Alabama up 21-3 after the first quarter, again scoring a touchdown on their first 3 drives of the game. After 2 straight Alabama 3-and-outs, Gators respond. Malik Davis, 26-yard scamper. Gators down 21-9. That has been the one bright spot for Florida's offense, being able to run the football, averaging just roughly under 5 yards per carry. Alabama goes into the half up 21-9. They cover the first half spread, which was 8. Florida will get the ball to start the second half. This game opened with Alabama as a 14.5-point favorite, closed at 14. Right now, the second half line, Alabama -4, as they have themselves a 21-9 lead at halftime. Again, Florida will get the ball to start the second half. All right, let's welcome in Chip Patterson and Barrett Sallee here on the SEC on CBS halftime show. And Chip, I'll start with you here. Just your impressions of the first half after seeing what Alabama did on its first 3 drives.
Something that the great Gary Danielson actually mentioned is that you can just tell in pursuit, you can tell in a lot of the ways that the Alabama wide receivers have been able to get open on some of these plays, especially when things break down. Alabama just looks better. I mean, there's a talent, there's a speed, there's a difference between these 2 squads, which is really disappointing if you wanted parity in the SEC and not just more of the same. That the team that is probably the 2nd best in the SEC East, and maybe if you dropped them in the SEC West, they would be the 2nd best team in that division as well. Well, they are a tier, a noticeable tier away from where Alabama is. Now, if you want to look for some wins that Florida's had, that you have not had Alabama convert on a 3rd and long yet. If you can get them into 3rd and long, that is not something that Bryce Young has been able to do. And because they don't have a lot of consistency running the ball, again, good for Florida's defense, the way that it's settled down, then you might be able to get them into those 3rd and long situations. But B-Mac's right, the splash plays, it just feels inevitable with the talent advantage that Alabama has over the Gators right here. Not surprised at all with our deficit. Would not be surprised if Alabama extends that even more in the second half.
Barrett, the big effort here going into this game was how they'd start this football game compared to what they did last week against Mercer. Of course, Nick Saban all over his kids saying, hey, you better wake up. Well, they score a touchdown in their first 3 drives. Then to end the half, it's 3 straight punts. What do you make of the way they started this game to the way they have finished this first half?
Well, I think everything came easy, obviously, in the first 3 drives. But to me, it feels like Todd Grantham has rattled Bryce Young a little bit. He looks unsure of himself, and then he gets popped in that last drive by Brenton Cox, and that only exacerbates the issue. So I think what we're seeing is that Bryce Young, this is the first sort of hint of adversity. It's the first true road game he started. So I think that is the big issue right now. They've got to find a way to settle him down. I think you're going to see some more short passes because, Chip mentioned it and Gary Danielson mentioned it on the broadcast that he has not been effective deep downfield on passes of 20 or more yards. So they feel like they need to get him into a groove right now because they tried to hit that home run play. They tried to get that kill shot in there a couple times, and Bryce got rattled. Bryce got hit, and he threw into double coverage a couple times. So I think that's all it is. I think Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien and that staff have to get back to the drawing board at halftime and say, all right, look, how do we get that comfort back? And to me, it's going to be all on the ground because you got McClellan, you got Robinson, you got Young to run as well. You might as well use them.
Bryce Young with 3 first-half touchdown passes. Barrett, are you surprised that we haven't seen Anthony Richardson in the game?
I'm surprised we didn't see him to start the game. So, yeah, I'm definitely surprised we hadn't seen him now. Look, Dan said he's medically cleared. Well, he's medically cleared. That means he can play. And we saw him before the game doing backflips. Generally speaking, now I can't do a backflip, but generally speaking, as an amateur doctor, I would think it's pretty hard to do a backflip with an injured hamstring that would force you out of a football game. So, yeah, Emory Jones, you heard the boo birds come out right before Malik Davis scored just before halftime, but Emory Jones is missing some bad passes. And Anthony Richardson is the game breaker. He is the guy who can be explosive. We saw Emory Jones throw a pick, wildly overthrown pass. That can't happen, but that's what he does. He's done that in the other 2 games as well. So you don't know if Anthony Richardson can handle this kind of pressure. You don't know how his hamstring will hold up. And you don't know, maybe he is a turnover machine. But at least it's unknown. Right now, we're seeing what Emory Jones is. And it's gotten to a point now where Gary and Brad have been talking about it. They have to get him going in the running game because it's really all they got.
Yeah, Barrett, I'm very glad you mentioned that. And I don't know what you all thought watching the game there in studio, but after the Emory Jones pick, I thought that was going to be the time for AR-15 because this is the one thing you cannot do. Alabama leads the SEC in turnover margin. They do a great job of forcing turnovers. This defense has gotten back to making that part of its identity in a way that we haven't quite seen in the last couple of years. And so when you take Emory Jones, he has 4 interceptions coming into the game, throws his 5th of the season here in the first half. That was going to be the moment. Okay, you made a bad decision. You threw a pick. Now let's put in Richardson. Let's see what we can do. I was stunned that we did not see Richardson after Emory Jones's interception.
All right, so Barrett Sallee is an amateur doctor.
Yes, I didn't know that, by the way.
I am not an amateur football coach, but I will ask you this. If you're Dan Mullen, aren't you starting Anthony Richardson to start the second half? You have the football. What do you have to lose?
I mean, right now, I think when you look at their offense, Emory Jones he's done some pretty good things, but he is he is the guy that can kind of give you that good play, bad play, and you're like, wow, Emory, what are you doing? So if we haven't seen Anthony Richardson in the first half, I highly doubt we will see him in the second half because if he sat down the entire first half, you don't want to just throw him out there in the second half extremely cold, especially if he's nursing a hamstring or whatever the case may be. So I think they're going to ride or die with Emory Jones. And I think he's settled down just a bit. You know what I mean? When he's in rhythm, he's running the football. He's making things happen, just improvising. And I think he has to continue to do that. But he has to be smart with the football. I'm right with the guys. I feel like Anthony Richardson is the better quarterback. He has a higher ceiling, and this offense is much better when he's in the lineup. But not seeing him in the first half, it tells me he might not be as healthy as they claim that he is based on his absence in the first half of this ball game.
Look, there's a major talent gap. I mean, I don't even need to even say that between Alabama and South Florida. Like, I understand that. But when Anthony Richardson goes 3 for 3 and 2 touchdowns last week, why not take a chance here, Barrett?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he can do backflips. And like I said, I was really disappointed in Dan Mullen for kicking the field goal in the first drive rather than going for it. This is Alabama. You have to take those shots. If you don't take those shots, you're going to get run. And in this case, run out of your own building. So I think Dan likes to prove that he is the smartest man in every room. And Emory Jones is his handpicked guy. He was the first call he made when Dan got the job in Gainesville. Maybe pride is the issue here, because I mean, because a logical person that watches this game, that has seen Emory Jones play through 3 games, that has seen Anthony Richardson play through 3 games, would know that the only chance they have is to put Richardson in there, because at least he's more explosive in the running game, and maybe he's not a liability in the passing game. Maybe he is, but you got to take that shot against Alabama.
All right, the second half line is -4 in favor of Alabama. What do you make of that?
I'm taking Alabama. I'm surprised, number one. Only -4. I'm surprised when you look at how explosive Alabama's offense was in the first quarter. We know at any given time, guys, they can score just like that. And I think Bryce Young will be more settled in the second half. They will rely more on the running game because they have the structure to be balanced offensively and defensively. It's all about Alabama's defense putting Emory Jones in difficult situations. And the final say-so for me and taking for Alabama, which quarterback do you believe in the most, right? I definitely would take Bryce Young over Emory Jones, especially when you look at what Bryce has surrounded him. So I'm surprised to see only 4 points, but I'm taking the Crimson Tide.
Absolutely, B-Mac. Roll Tide, lay those points. Alabama will score 3 more touchdowns in this game, and I do not think that Florida will be able to keep pace, especially after some adjustments are made offensively to figure out ways to make life easier on Bryce Young. I think that they will look at this as a great challenge for Alabama's offense, and I think that Bill O'Brien wants to get out of Gainesville with 40 points on the board, so I absolutely feel comfortable laying those 4 points with Alabama in the second half.
All right, Hakeem, Bryant, and Chip, I need access to your bank accounts, your savings accounts, your crypto accounts, because I'm going to take all that money and throw it at Bama -4. That is easy, easy money. There is absolutely no shot that they do not cover that. That line, to me, suggests that odds makers think Florida is going to hang in this game. And while, yeah, they look good defensively in the second quarter, is that enough to suggest that they're going to hang in this game? Absolutely not. Alabama turns games sideways, especially against teams that can't get into a shootout with them. And I think Florida has shown through 2 quarters that it cannot get into a shootout with Alabama. That's exactly what's going to happen. Bama's going to run away and hide, and this game will turn sideways in the second half.
So Alabama up 21-9 at halftime. You think Nick Saban's satisfied with that?
No, he's definitely fired up about that. You look at the penalties, look at the misplays we saw in the second quarter. No question, he went in on his guys, I'm willing to bet, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a different ball club from Alabama in the second half on both sides of the football field.
Well, he's certainly pleased with how Bryce Young is playing. 3 first-half touchdowns. Second player in Alabama history to throw 10 touchdowns through his first 3 career starts, joining who else? Mac Jones. How about that? All right, Chip Patterson, Barrett Sallee here on the halftime show. SEC on CBS is back, and so is Alabama in a big way, up 21-9. Reigning national champs beat Florida in the SEC championship game on their way to the national title last season. Again, Alabama won that game, did not cover that game. They only won by 6. Right now, they've got themselves a 12-point lead, up 21-9. Going into the second half. Again, Florida will get the ball to start the second half. We'll be back here post-game to wrap it up for you. Alabama looking to go 3-0 and win their 8th straight against the Gators.